Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everybody and thank you very much for making the efforts to come to this very, very important evening and in the life of the shul. I'm just here to introduce the evening, a couple of minutes, introduce the speakers. You'll hear about why we're here and how we're going to get this building built. Our first speaker, of course, will be the Rav, our beloved Rav Shlita. He's going to give us words of chizuk and really explain to us the importance, why we're here, and what we need to do to get this done. It's important to me, I think we owe a tremendous hakar satov to the speaker after the Rav as well. I want to single out specifically because I've worked with Doron I know Doron for 20 years, worked with him on many different things, and I can tell you that he was responsible for all the finances of this building from the beginning, and he's been working incredibly hard on this campaign. When I started with him, he's the lead. He took the lead, and I can tell you he spends hours a day. I get tremendous chizuk from him, and I think we owe him a great hakar satov and the yasher toach. And he's going to be speaking after the Rav to explain basically some of the mechanics of the program, what to expect, why we're doing this, why it's so important, and so forth. Our third speaker is going to be Bini Maryles. He's representing the organization that's helping us get this done, and he will explain to you in detail of what we need to do, what's expected, everything that goes into it, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to leave you with a little thought before the Rav speaks, because I personally hate doing these things, frankly, but I took a lesson from the Rav, who said in various drashas that he's given, that in order to really grow, in order to really know what we're potentially able to do, you have to step out of yourself. You have to, in order to fulfill your potential, you can't stay in your comfort zone. You have to get out of yourself, and you have to push yourself to be able to do that which you thought you could never do. So I'm trying to do that a little bit, and I think it's crucial for this to succeed that everybody becomes very enthusiastic and understand the tremendous importance of getting this done, and that hakar satov that we owe to the Rav and Rebbitzin, and everything that went into making this a Makom Kodesh that it is. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce the Rabbi Shlita.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. It's very, very meaningful to me. It's very, very meaningful to the Rebbitzin. I need a little chizuk, and this is the chizuk. So thank you very much for coming. I'd like to say something very personal. Kehila Shifta Yeshurun is in my tefillos every single day. The members, the children, the welfare, and believe it or not, the building. The personal part is that I want to share with you almost exactly what I'm mispalel. I ask Hashem to give me the schus to be His shaliach, to build a Beis Hashem in Eretz Yisrael. This is, after all, not just my dream, but it's the dream of centuries and millennia. Come back to Eretz Yisrael. I'm sure my grandfather would not have believed it. Come back to Eretz Yisrael, really have the schus to build something which is meaningful and everlasting, and Mashiach, I'm sure, will be one of our guest speakers. I ask Hashem to give me the chachma, to give me the chen, to teach the right Torah and to guide all of you wonderful people. And nilvim aleichem, Baruch Hashem, other hundreds in the Ramat Beit Shemesh and even in Eretz Yisrael. I ask Hashem to give me the zchus to somehow finish this building, and that it should be a home for the Shekhinah and a place to call home for the hundreds of Olim, people that have decided to come to Eretz Yisrael, come to Eretz HaKodesh. You know, everybody has to see themselves as a tzinor, as a pipeline to bring Hashem's bracha into this world. No two people bring it into this world the same way. But one thing is for sure, we have to be a tzinor. It's mamash a pipe. Kol olam kulo nizarnim b'shvil Chanina b'ni. Chanina ben Dosa had a shvil, like Shnei Shvilim. Had a shvil, had a pipe. And from that pipe, through that pipe, came down bracha. I ask Hashem that my shvil should all empty out right here. And I'm asking you, not to do, really, but to be a pipeline of the bracha from Hashem, and together to build a Makom Kadosh. This is not the only Makom Kadosh in Eretz Yisrael, I'm asking. There are many, many places, and everyone is needed. But I know, in the depth of my heart, that we fulfill a certain function in a certain way that I don't know if anybody does. That's the truth. That's how I feel. You see, when people, as I said, just about everybody in this room is made aliyah at some point or another. I'm speaking in English. Came from many, many parts of the world. When we decided, I know when my family decided to come to Eretz Yisrael, on the one hand, it was like extremely exciting. Just the thought of coming to Eretz Yisrael after being in Chutz La'aretz for a couple of decades. It was thrilling, but it was very frightening. I went back and forth in my mind. Is this the right thing? I asked Gedolim. Gedolim told me not to come. Kids, you're doing such a good job in America. You know, all the different... I had to go find somebody. I couldn't get a hold of my Rabbi. That's what happened. I couldn't get a hold of him, so I was asking this one, asking that one. And finally, when I asked my Rabbi, Rav Scheinberg, Zecher Tzadik Livrocha, I met him at an airport. He was coming back from South America. I met him in Kennedy Airport. Finally, we were able to do that. And I needed to make the decision. I said, should I or shouldn't I? And I didn't have to go into Arichas because he knows me, he knew everything I was doing. And he said to me, of course you should come to Eretz Yisrael. First one. So I said, but what about, he said to me, Yankala, Baruch Hashem, whatever you do has a bracha. Whatever you do will have a bracha. And that was a bracha. Baruch Hashem, I was zocha to hear, and Baruch Hashem, I'm zocha to live. And by the way, everybody in this room and many more are all part of that bracha. Hamashal, part of that bracha. So coming to Eretz Yisrael for all of us is a frightening experience, as thrilling as it is. You're leaving your family, you're leaving your jobs, you're leaving your friends, you're bringing your kids to a place. I can say this, that so many people, hundreds, if not more, have walked through the door, and they share it with me, of Kehila Shifta Yeshurun, and they feel, okay, I made the right decision. I have a home. I have friends. I have a Kehila. There's kids here. There's a Rav that will not only be there for us, but he'll advocate for my children, and I do. So we've done something with the historical process. We've done something with the kibbutz golius. And it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning of what we can do. If I would tell you my dreams, you would be frightened. We're just at the beginning. I firstly want to ask Hashem, Borei Olam, Bekinyan, Hashlem Zehabinyan. We need to finish this building. We need to make the center and the Kiddush Hashem that it can make. And you are the ones that can help me do it. I can help you do it. We can do it together. You have to open up yourself to becoming a conduit, to becoming a pipeline from HaKadosh Baruch Hu and bringing that bracha here. And we all have to be able to say to ourselves, what can be more important than doing something and building something which is for our children, and Amir Hashem for our grandchildren, and for who knows whose children. A center where people could come to Eretz Yisrael and grow and become tzaddikim. What could be more? What cause could be better? Not to mention how many Yisomim and how many Almanos and how many single moms and how many poor people that we're able to help because we're a Kehillah. But just that it's here, that people can walk through the door and be inspired. This is an amazing project. It's building a home. Like you build your home, we can build a home together. And when we're a conduit, Amatsia spoke about getting out of our comfort zone. It's difficult to get out of your comfort zone. It's true, though, what I say. That's the only way to grow. If you're just staying where you're comfortable, what are you doing? Where are you going? But I probably mentioned that years ago when the same Rav Scheinberg, Zatzal, asked me, how's it going? I said, everything's going good. It's difficult for me to ask people for anything, certainly money. It's hard, I have to admit. It's a difficult thing. I don't like asking people for money. Does anybody like asking people for money? I'm a shikana. Who likes asking people for money? But, don't be offended, I'm just He told me, he said, that's an easy one. I said, really? He says, yeah. He says, all you have to do is make sure that your Avas Hashem is bigger than your Avas Atzmai. Okay, that's easy. Avas Hashem. If you love Hashem more than you love yourself, more than you love your comfort, if there's something bigger than you out there and you're willing to give yourself to it, then it's not hard to ask anybody for anything. Because I don't need to be comfortable. I need to have Avas Hashem. And that is the way any important Mossad organization in the history of Klal Yisrael, including the Mishkan, was built. There is no other way that's correct. The ones that are built incorrectly fell apart. The ones that were built with that Kedusha of people stretching themselves in the most difficult way, those last forever. Truth is, it's really not that difficult. The professionals will explain. But look, you open yourself up as a tzinor, understanding that the reason I'm here in this world is to see what bracha I could bring into the world. And we bring it into the world by having children. We bring it into the world in so many ways, and one of them is a kehillah. We open up that tzinor, and we ask people to help. If they say no, so sein gebenched. Thank you very much for listening, and you go on to the next one. Very few people say no, by the way. I haven't experienced one no. People come forward. But it doesn't, lo yalecha amlacha ligmar. That's not the point. The point is that, they've got to give, it's not about our rejection. It's about doing our hishtadlus as a kehillah and opening up this pipeline so that this brother can be here. So that's my ask. My ask is, and I'm going to do it myself, I'm here at Hashem, bli neder, is that we should make a big pipe called the tzibur of Kila Shiftei Yeshurim. And of course, we should finish this building. But more important, as a tzibur, with a building, with a center, with everything that we have going for us, we should be zoche to really help in the process of kibbutz galuyos. That's what's going on now. It's not a piece of what's going on now. That's everything that's going on now. There is nothing else. It's people coming to Eretz Yisrael and learning Torah and becoming tzaddikim and bringing the geula. And I want to be your partner. I want you to be my partner in bringing this geula. And Yehi Ratzain, that in this chus, what better way is there to go into the Yamim Neroim rather than you could stand in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and say, I stretched. Can you give a little stretch for me? And with that, we could be zocha to aksiva v'chasima tova. Thank you very much.
Okay, good evening, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Doron Green. Thank you for coming this evening. Not easy, parents' evenings, Rosh Hashanah, who knows what else, but you rose to the occasion once again. I want to just tell you a very brief story. I'm not sure if the Rav remembers this, or maybe the Rav remembers this all the time. But about 5 years ago, we davened Yomim Noraim in the shul over the hill here, Shalei Torah. And we got the small Beit Midrash, and we crammed in there, and it was boiling hot, so hot that my daughter fainted in the middle of davening. Hatzalah, the whole story. And when we had the break, the Rebbetzin whispered strategically, wisely in my ear, and she said, the Rav feels that you could be a help on the building fund. So I helped, but the truth is I'm standing here as a representative, not as the person who built the building fund. Sorry, that's our share. I'm not the person who built the building. So credit Amatsia, but the truth is the credit goes to every single person in this room. I could list you for the next 10 minutes a list of volunteers who have been involved in the building fund for the last 5 years, and going back 11 years before that when the Kehillah was found 16 or 17 years ago. This has been a Kehillah effort. Everybody has put their energies in. Everybody who's sitting here has done something, and you wouldn't be sitting here if you didn't want to do or felt like you had something to offer. I'm not sure that you know, and maybe I'll try and connect a few dots of what's been alluded to in what the Rav was saying. Obviously, everyone knows that we're coming here to be asked for something, presuming you're being asked for money. So why don't we just ask for money, put out a pledge, launch a project, and instead of schlepping us here before Rosh Hashanah. So there's a couple of reasons, and I want to touch on most of them. The first is the Rav has spoken very understatedly in what it takes to run a kehillah. This kehillah was never established to build a building. A building is a key to having this community. This community was built, amongst other reasons, to have a very healthy environment where people can come and grow and get the chizuk for their families and the support as olim, and essentially a place that we could be individuals and express ourselves and essentially grow and get the leadership that we need and be leaders for our families. That's what this kehillah was established. And it comes with a very defined by the Rav set of hashkafa, and it's obviously something that speaks to each and every one of us. And I can tell you, if you aren't aware, to hundreds of other families that aren't sitting here this evening. The problem that we face is that tremendous energy goes into maintaining this tremendous focus from the Rav and the Rebbetzin. You should have rachamim on the Rav and the Rebbetzin, that Doron Green is forever latched to the Rav's neck. Every time he leaves the shul, I'm following him home to see, okay, what do we do now? Have rachamim on him. Let him get rid of me already. But the truth is, as a community, we need to relieve some of the energy, or a lot of the energy that's going into the building, and finish it so that we can devote the energy to what this community needs. None of your families are in the same place as you were 5 years ago. None of you. I'm sure each and every one of you have different challenges, whether it be with your children, or with spouses, or whatever those challenges it might be, and they're numerous, more than I even know. But I hear a little bit from the Rav, and I'm astounded. I'm astounded by the struggles people sitting next to me and behind me and in front of me, or wherever they are in the community, are going through. And we don't know. And the Rav's putting the hours in. And if you ever ask the Rav, Rabbi, do you have a bit of time for me? He says, I have all the time in the world. Don't ask me how. He probably doesn't sleep. I'm almost certain of it. We have to move those resources from running a building into giving services to the community, so this community can go to the next step. And that's why we're here. Together with that, we've tried very many different projects over the years. We've raised money, and I want you to all know, you can give yourselves a pat on the back. We've been successful. 5 years ago, we were just starting out in Dolev number 2, and we soon overgrew the space there. And in that time, we've dealt with an interesting area, got a building up, basically serviced our loans for the most part. We do owe money and we need to pay some of that back. But we've built a building and the community's in here. So what are we schwitzing about? What do we really need to finish it? We're in. We got services. Right? Well, if anyone's tried to hear the Rav's drosha on Shabbos, you don't know that we're missing an acoustic ceiling. It will be a lot easier to hear the Rav. You don't know that we're missing rooms upstairs that if we close them off, we'd be able to house children's programs. Children's programming, if anyone's walked in here on a Shabbos afternoon, there's no more space for the kids to sit here and hear their story that Ira tells them every Shabbos. And that's just the boys until age 10. What about all the other kids? Where's the programming? Energies are going into the building, and we need to now finish the building so we can put that energy into the people. And that's why we're sitting here. So we've decided that the way to really go about raising the money that's needed is to do a cause match, a crowdfunding campaign. Now, it wasn't a straightforward decision. We've done many different campaigns in the shul, as you all know. And some of them have been more successful than others, but each and every one of them have taken tremendous energy. Right? And I'm talking here to the people that have given the most to the community. I'm not talking to anybody who doesn't give. People pay their membership, they pay their building membership, they give their Maisa money. That's how we are where we are today. But the truth is, if we were going to redo one of our old campaigns, I'm not sure that we'd get volunteers. We approached the cause match idea circumspect. We weren't sure whether what we had seen was smoke and mirrors or the truth. And we set about verifying, is this a real model, and is this a model that we fit into? That was the first question we wanted to answer. The second question was, but our tzibur's burnt out. They've all given. They've all joined the building fund, or they've all given their donations, or taken what they can. How can we go back to them and ask for more? So the first thing that we verified is that, in fact, Cause Match is real. And in our case, we're not doing a match because we don't have the money to match. Bini's going to explain more about what we are going to do, and I'll give you a little bit of detail before he does so. But we're going to do a cause match, and please God, that cause match is going to be in 3 weeks' time, 2 days before Yom Kippur, Sunday and Monday, the 6th and 7th of October. That's our campaign day. That's the day to raise the money. In 2 days, please God, all the $1 million, which is our minimum target that we need for this building. Ma tov u'manayim, if we can exceed that. Between now and then is essentially 3 weeks, but when you carve out weekends and Rosh Hashanah, we've basically got 2.5 weeks to this campaign. This is it. One bite at the cherry, focus, and you'll hear what the ask is shortly. But it's not a long, stretched out period. This is a period to say, I'm part of the tzinor that the Rav described. Or not. One of the ways that we had to learn from our previous campaigns was, for starters, don't make the same mistakes. Don't burn out your volunteers. The cause match process, we've already been working at it 2 months, approximately 2 months now. And I'm pleased to announce to all of you that it's based on what I call layers of success. I'm sure there's a more technical term that cause match uses, but whenever you move to the next stage of the process, make sure you're approaching it with success. So once we decided we were going to do this process, the next stage was to verify that we can put this in place. What kind of volunteers do we need? And we recruited those volunteers, and those volunteers have been working very hard for the past approximately 2 months, getting ourselves ready. The next stage was to turn to people who we thought might be able to start donating, to give a pool of capital that we could start with, to pool the first donations in. So who do you turn to? You would turn to your biggest gvirim. But KSY is not made up of gvirim. It's not at least the big gvirim that we all understand in the word, the term, what gvir stands for. Really, every single one of you is a gvir. So we selected 10 or 12 people, every one of them exactly like yourselves, working people, living on salaries, living on jobs. And we invited them to a meeting at the Rav's house, and we said, Rabbi Isai, gave them the same spiel as I've given you now. And we say, we're turning you to start us off. And I'm pleased to say, out of that meeting, we've already reached 20% of our goal. We're close to $200,000. More than the money, I want to stress that this came from the people that have already given. That came from people that are as committed as anyone in this room to seeing through why KSY was established. That gave us tremendous chizuk. It really gave us tremendous chizuk because we said, people want to see this done. The people in our community want to see this done. The next layer of success was to recruit another group of volunteers. If we were going to energize 200 families to be part of this process, we needed to make sure we had enough support people to step into this project and make it successful. If I can ask those volunteers who from last Monday night agreed to be part of the project, if you can just stand up for a minute. You're welcome. The point being here is that we're over 20 volunteers of this project already. That means the support structure to making this successful is in place. So what does Cause Match bring to the table? Cause Match bring a lot of experience. They bring an infrastructure platform that enables crowdfunding. Bini will speak more about it. They bring all the stuff that in previous campaigns we had to write ourselves and try and invent, and we got bogged down in the technicals, and we didn't even get to the stage where we could roll it out en masse. But they bring that to the table already engineered. And they also bring to the table the experience of having raised probably hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions, I don't know. Okay? That's what, the partner that we're bringing to the table. The only thing that Cause Match doesn't bring to the table is you. That's the engine room of this project. If we aren't going to be able to get our community, the 200 families associated with KSY, if we aren't going to be able to get you energized and part of this process for the next 3 weeks, we won't reach our goal. We'll have some success, but we won't reach our goal. So really, I'm going to hand it over to Bini at this point in time. But my ask, or first my tell, is to reassure you that from a structural project support perspective, we've put all the right pieces in place. They're not perfect. There'll be stresses and there'll be this, that, and the other. But we have over 20 committed volunteers to make this project successful. Those 20 volunteers are going to be working with the 200 families in the community. The only thing left really is for you to hear out Bini, and then I'm going to be part of this tzinor for the next 3 weeks. So thank you for listening. I certainly hope you all agree. And without further ado, Rabbi Bini Maryles.
I know what it says. I don't. Do you want to pass those out? I wrote them, so. Good evening, everyone. Oh, that's loud. Good. Okay, good. I'll be a little less loud. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight, and it's been a pleasure to work with leadership so far in this project. And my sort of role here this evening is to convince you that this is totally possible, and how to go about doing that, and how to make this actually an enjoyable experience for you. It's a tall task, but it's one that I have thankfully successfully convinced a lot of communities in a lot of places to do over the last period of time, helping them raise a lot of money. Just a little bit of background for like 1 minute's worth of time. So I spent a long time in Jewish communal work, in the rabbinate, in teaching, in organizational fundraising, and all kinds of programmatic stuff, and I've seen all kinds of amazing things happen and some incredible miracles happen when it comes to fundraising. So I've seen the impossible become possible, and I've seen projects like this happen when people looked at them and thought, that is way too much money. And so what we're going to do tonight together is we're going to break down that money into sizable chunks that people can handle and understand. We're going to walk through this process, and then we're going to convince each other that we can totally do this in 3 weeks from now. Okay, so we're going to raise $1 million together. That's a lot of money. And when I say that we're going to do it together, that's really the truth. It's a very basic, simple truth. It relies on the fact that for just a couple of weeks' time, you have to believe in something that sounds almost unbelievable, and rely on the fact that we know what we're doing and that we've done this before, and trust a little bit in a system that we have put together. And we have, as Doron said, built this in a way so that we get to this point at this time with you, so we can take it from this stage to the end and succeed. Because all that we've done till this time is good, but closing something like this out is really hard. It's really hard. It's a lot of work. To use the Rav's term, to get my Ahavas Hashem to be over and above my own Ahavas Atzmi, that takes a lot of effort. Unless you're already there, it takes a lot of effort. And so we have to work hard. And we're going to work hard together, and I'm going to tell you how we do this. We do this by building something we call a crowd. And by building a crowd, and this was one of the sticking points at the outset of this process, was figuring out who was the crowd for KSY. Who are the people that are going to help us raise this money? And so I'm not going to share any secrets with you here, because I imagine that over the course of the last year, that you have been solicited by a friend or a family member for some campaign somewhere in the world that they were passionate about. For how many of you is that true? Just raise your hand. Right. For how many of you is that true that it happened in the last 6 months? In the last 3 months? And for how many of you did that happen within 2 miles of here? I know that's true because I worked on one of them. At least one of them. And so to some degree, people feel like, enough already. I can't do this. But if you flip it over for just a second, your friends said exactly the same thing. Your brothers, your sisters, whoever said exactly the same thing. I can't do this. I can't raise money. I've never raised money. I don't want to raise money. That's not what I do for a living. I specifically avoided that when I went into what I do so that I would not have to go and raise money. Like every person I know who went into chinuch and ended up in administration and suddenly became a fundraiser, or every friend of mine who went into the rabbinate because they wanted to give shiur and impact people and suddenly they realized, I want to get paid at the end of the month, so I have to raise a budget. Suddenly they become fundraisers, and they're doing things and asking things of people that they never imagined that they'd be doing because they have to move certain projects and certain things forward in their communities, and that's the only way to do it. And so all those people somehow, for a short period of time at least, became fundraisers, and some of them became fundraisers because something I might have said convinced them, but more likely is that the passion that they have for the project that they're raising money for was far bigger and far more important to them than the discomfort that they have in asking people. And that's really the case. And so let's talk about how we take $1 million and break that into sizable chunks and actually make it meaningful and possible for everyone here. And this is how we do this. One of the ways that we build this is something we call, in the world that I live in most of my life, peer-to-peer fundraising. It's the idea that we as individuals can be far more successful in fundraising for a project than those who are exactly leading that project. The example I gave last week at the meeting was, actually the person I said it with is sitting over there. If I asked this person for all of her contacts in her list and she gave them to me and I called every single one of those people, I might raise some money. I'd also raise a very high level of anger at that person because she gave away all of those contacts to some random fundraiser guy, which is not something you do. At the same time, if I could a person that they could actually fundraise and they turned to those friends and family, that they would raise significantly more funds than I could ever raise from that group. And so what we're doing is we're flipping it over. Instead of having the fundraiser raise the money, we're having the people who are benefiting from the project turning and becoming fundraisers for one short period of time and turning to all the people in their lives, friends, family, business connections, and otherwise, and asking them to help. And so the way that that works is we're not necessarily expecting very large gifts, although we welcome them, but we're expecting a lot of small gifts, building a giant crowd of people, thousands ultimately, to raise the money that we need to finish this building. And so it becomes a case where every single person sitting in this room becomes the center of the giving circle and is now turning to all the people in their world and asking them for those funds. We provide you with basic text. We provide you with the timing as to when to send those things out. We're providing you with an opportunity to come here and work in a call center, to make phone calls on behalf of the shul, to be able to do that project. We provide that entire infrastructure. That's how we build it wide. And so what we're asking of you tonight is to look at the materials that are sitting in front of you and to do the following couple of things. Number one is to decide what your family goal is going to be. Not just you individually, but the family. Each family is going to have a goal. We're going to give each family a page on the campaign site. It's going to say the blah, blah, blah family. Blah, blah, blah is not anyone in the building, but you get the idea. Pick a goal. Minimally, we're asking people to try to raise $4,000 per family. Do the math. If every family minimally raises $4,000 and we have 200 families, how much money do we have? Quick math lesson. Enough money to finish the building, yes. Yes. So it sounds still like a lot of money. $4,000, can I raise $4,000? I never raised a penny in my life. Like, how am I going to raise $4,000? I'm not good at this. I don't want to do this. I totally hear it. I didn't want to do it either. And suddenly here I am sitting in front of you telling you that you can do this too. And so how does that work? And it works in the following way, because another document that you have in front of you is called the Memory Jogger. It's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek, sort of funny document. You can look at it right now. And it basically asks you to begin to build the list of people that you know. All the funny people in your life who you don't realize also can help you with this project. Yes, it starts with family, and it moves on to friends, and it moves on to business contacts and your network. It moves on to talk about and ask you about the gardener, the person who cuts your hair, the babysitter, the old roommate who you haven't spoken to in 25 years who will be a little bit annoyed about that phone call, but will still give you a donation. That memory jogger begins to create for you in your mind the list of people that you can connect with, because I'm sure there are people in this room, you don't have to raise your hands because this is a bit of an embarrassing question, who are thinking, well, I don't know anybody. Or the worst version of that question is, I don't have any friends. So now if you have the answer to that question is that you don't have any friends, we should have a separate conversation after this meeting is over. But in terms of the list that we're talking about that's in front of you, you have people to reach. You just don't realize. And what ends up happening always is that a person begins to look at that list and write down those names and puts that list together, and they realize suddenly, wow, I have 40. My wife, my husband, is another 40. Suddenly we have 80 different people that we're reaching. $4,000 divided by 80 is not too hard. That's how it works. Because it's not so much that we're raising $1 million each individual. We're not asking anyone to raise $1 million on their own. Do not worry. That is hard to do. We're asking everyone to raise a small bit of the pie, and collectively together, we build that pie together, and ultimately, boom, we get to the goal. So it starts in small pieces, and small bites, and small bits, and some gifts are going to be larger, and some gifts are going to be smaller, and someone might actually say no to you. Don't take it personally. It might actually happen. It shouldn't deter you. It should inspire you to call the next person and to get twice the gift from the next person. Because it does work. Because what really key here is not so much that you're fundraising. You are sharing passion for something unbelievable. And when you share that passion with people, the ask is just the end of that sentence. So it's not so much that you're getting on the phone and you're becoming a fundraiser for one day. You're getting on the phone and you're sharing the passion you have for this project that so many people in your life already know about, either because they were here for a visit, or they heard about a simcha, or they heard something about a speech that the Rav gave, or a shir that you attended that takes place here, so they know from you about it. And so you're sharing that with them. And, amazingly, these people actually care about you. And because they care about you, and they care about your success, they care about the things that are important to you, they are more likely to give for something like that. And so if you're thinking, after all that, I still can't do this. How many of you are still thinking you can't do this? Oh, thank you so much. Goodness gracious. It's like the 10th cup of water today, huh? How many of you still think you can't do this? No one in the room thinks they can't do this? I'm done. Like, amazing. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Thank you in the back for being totally honest. I appreciate that. A little bit of honesty in Elul. There you go. Okay, good. So somebody said they still can't do this, which is probably true. A lot of you probably are really thinking, like, all right, he said a lot of nice things, but I'm not convinced yet. So I get it. It's hard. And so what I need from you is the following for like 36 hours. I need you to believe in something slightly impossible for 36 hours. Because when you think about it for just 1 second, based on what the Rav said before, and everyone sitting in this room, all of this was impossible. All of this is miraculous. And so if it's already a giant miracle, then adding a little bit to that miracle, a little less crazy. And so if all of this happened, and it's amazing that all of it just came together, and all these people coincidentally ended up in the same neighborhood and built a community together, it's not the case. And so I need you to sort of believe for a short period of time in expanding that impossibility and bringing that impossibility into the world of possible. And you're probably still thinking, I still can't do this. Or, yeah, I don't want to do this. I still hear it. I get it. The same way that I didn't want to do it either, and I didn't want to become a fundraiser, and I ended up in fundraising and all these different things, and convincing people that they can raise money all over the world to raise money for all kinds of phenomenal projects. So let me share with you the final two ideas, then we'll get into very specifically the practicalities here. I want you to take a minute and I want you to project out a year from now. 1 year from now, when the building is finished, what does Shabbat look like when the building is finished? Just think about it, 30 seconds in your mind. How many people are walking through the door? Everyone has a place to sit. My children have places to go. Our grandchildren are able to come with me to shul. It's buzzing, it's busy, every day of the week, every hour of every day. That's 1 year from now. That doesn't happen without your help. But here's the second piece, because that might not be enough for you. I want you to look to all the people sitting around you, in front of you, behind you, to your right and to your left. Do it right now. It's a little embarrassing, I know, it's okay. And I want you to think about all the smachot those people are going to bring to this community in the future. Bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, afrafs, weddings, shever brachas, brisim, siyumim, take your pick. They can do it in this, or they can do it in the finished building. And it would be because of what you did, and what you did, and what he did, and what she did. Not for yourself, because maybe for yourself this is okay. That happens. People settle. They're okay with it. Well, we already have a building, so what do we have to do more? But for the person that's sitting next to you, for them, for you, for them, it shouldn't be okay. It shouldn't be enough. There should be more. It should be finished. And when you're sitting at that simcha with them, and you know you built it, amazing. How much better can that be? And so when you're struggling through this, and there will be moments when you're struggling through it, when that person says no to you on the phone and you don't want to make that next phone call, I want you to think about the people who sit around you in shul on Shabbos. I want you to think about your neighbors and your friends and all the wonderful things that they want to do here, and that will move you to make that next phone call. And that will push you to call somebody you haven't spoken to in 35 years because they can really help this project move. That's the inspirational, motivational, I hope I persuaded you part. Here's the practical part. I want you to look at that page in front of you. I want you to think about a goal that you're going to take for your family. If you're thinking that you need to speak to your wife or your husband, totally not true. On the spot right now, you can make that decision for them and then apologize later. And as you're doing it now, if you don't have a pen, I'll give you a pen. As you're doing it now, I want you to write down a number or check off a box. You can do it. I promise I'll wait. I have nowhere else to go. Kids are all sleeping, no food at the house. I mean, I'm here. Okay, you've done that? Good. Now I want you to cross that out and put a number that is 20% higher than the number you picked. And the reason that is because the number you chose is the number you're comfortable at. And I don't want you comfortable. I want you pushing, and I want you stretching, and I want you reaching for a goal. I don't want it to be down the block. I want it to be a mile away. Something that you can reach, something you're stretching for. So yes, the minimum number I put down on the page was 4,000. But I want you to feel like, you know what? 4,000 is not enough. I can raise much more for this shul. 5,000. Great, look at that. We already went up. There's the 20%, right? Well done by me. Okay, cool. Right? So there you go. Look at that number. Think about that number. Put that number down. And then commit to being an ambassador for this project. And commit to being a fundraiser for this project. And commit to believing that the guy who you never heard of, who showed up here tonight to do this speech in front of you, knows what he's talking about. Because amazing as it sounds, we actually do know what we're talking about. This stuff works, and it continues to work day in and day out, week after week, in communities around the world, even though people are tired of these campaigns. I admit it freely. And people ask me all the time, when is this going to end? And it's never going to end. People are always giving charity in the Jewish community. It's just never going to end. It's just going to change. But it's never going to end. And here's one other really cool tidbit of information for you. The people you're going to reach over the next couple of weeks for this campaign are also going to be reached by 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 other organizations at the same time. True? You know how I know that? Because I'm getting all those emails too, and so are you. And so if you're wondering, they'll have no money left, first of all, that's not true. But beyond that, what's really important to appreciate here is that most of the organizations that are going to be reaching out to them don't know them beyond their email address. And what's amazing is that people still give, even when it's just their email address that the organization knows. And so that friend, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, whoever, is going to give to those other organizations. They may as well be giving to you. And so if you make that ask, they are far more likely to give you the money because they know you than give it to some organization that they've never heard of who somehow they ended up on an email list. I know because I'm on the KSY email list and I get all the emails for this campaign. First of all, I love them because they get a lot of nachas out of that. But beyond that, I understand and I appreciate that that's what's going on here. And you think that. And the psychology of this is, like, I can't imagine doing this or this is not going to work. It totally works. And that's 100% true. People give to people, and they give more to people that they know than people that they don't know. And it never hurts the relationship. Never. Never. It only deepens the relationship. It only deepens the connection. It only makes you closer. People are giving. They want to give charity. It's Elul. They're giving money. They may as well be giving to you. They may as well help you finish this building. They may as well be participants in this project as opposed to some other project. So that fear, that concern, that discomfort should fade away from you because of that factor. And so what we're asking you again is to take that goal, to accept upon yourself that you're going to be an ambassador for this project, that you're going to raise that money, that you're going to start building that list and figuring out who are the people that I need to call, who are the people I'm going to reach, who are the people I'm going to put myself out in front of to raise money for this campaign, and then actually go do that. And so the way that we have built this is the following way. All the people who stood up as volunteers have volunteered to do the following thing: to be responsible and hold a few families accountable to their responsibility for the project. Not bosses, they don't own you, you don't work for them, but collectively the way we built this is that we have layers of accountability and structure, because when people have goals, they tend to try to reach them. When people have someone that they're accountable to, it pushes them to try, because that person who's going to be reaching out to them is going to be connecting with them in advance of the campaign. Hey, did you put your list together? Do you have names, phone numbers, email addresses of the people that you need to? Do you need anything else for this campaign to start working for you? Do you need a script? Do you need a text? Do you need a little bit more motivation? Do you need that guy from Cause Match to come over and give you the speech? Again, not going to happen. But we have it. Someone's on the phone, so maybe they're recording it. Oh, here you go. You can just play it over and over again. It's just so much what you want to do. Right? But all that is part of that structure. That person is holding you accountable. You're holding yourself accountable. Back and forth both ways. Everyone is involved from the top down in the organization. Everyone is playing a role, and everyone is raising money from the Rav through every member is participating in this project. So we're holding each other accountable. We're partners in this project. And so we built this structure. So someone's going to be reaching out to you in the next couple of days and say, hey, have you started putting that list together? Hopefully your answer is yes. Hopefully you've started already, because I'm going way too long, right? And you put that list together. You're beginning to build your list. And they're asking you multiple times, do you know who you're reaching? Do you know who you're reaching first? Do you know when you're reaching them? Do you know how you're reaching them? Best is a phone call. The most personal touch is the best. When are you going to start reaching out? On the campaign day, they're going to reach out a couple of times again. Hey, did you start? How's it going? Is it not going well? Maybe we need to think about some other things. It's built to succeed. And it's built to push you and put you in a place to succeed and to ask people for money and to raise the money that the shul needs. And I'll leave you with the last bit of advice here on this one. Something I put together a couple of months ago after running a lot of campaigns, spending a long time in fundraising. The most fundamental rule in all of fundraising is this. I call it the 4 rights of asking. It's the right person making the right ask at the right time for the right amount. Cool? It's a great rule. Like all of fundraising in one slide on one foot, I'll give it to you. You can print it out and put it on the wall. The reason why that's everything is because you are the right people, reaching your people. And you are the only people who can make those asks. And this is the only time you have to do it. And you are the ones who can ask for that amount of money. I can't do it. No one in the room can ask your people to help us out. Only you can do that. And so making the right ask at the right time for the right amount and being the right person, so I've already told you you are the right person, so you totally believe me on that. But the rest of that also just sort of comes with it. Can you do that? Yes. Will you do that? You have no choice, right? I mean, you really don't. And we have to finish this project. We're going to do that together. If you need more inspiration after this, you can just sort of like text me or whatever, and I'm happy to just give the spiel again, I promise. But I'm happy to go through it and work with you and push you over and over and over again, because I want to see this building finished, because I want to be at a simcha, like in a year from now. Well, truth be told, they've tried to convince me to move here multiple times over the last couple of months, and so if the building's not finished, I'm not interested. But once the building is finished, I'm totally interested, right? So this is what we're asking. Put down that goal. Decide on your own. Confer with your spouse if you absolutely need to. Decide on the amount. Push yourself to pick a goal that's higher. Begin to build your list. Expect to hear from somebody in the next couple of days who's working with you. Expect to get from us text and materials that you can use to personalize, emails, text messages, WhatsApp messages, whatever they are. Expect that you're going to get your own personal link, because you are going to get your own personalized link. It helps get people to give more to you because you have your own page. They can see where it's going. And expect that as we go through this together, the energy will build, the excitement will build, and then ultimately together, on those days in October, we will succeed together. Thanks so much. And if you have that form filled out, just hand those into, I don't know who. In the front, there's a box there? There's people there? There's people there. Oh, there are people at the edge on the way out, so you can't leave. That's your ticket out. Get out of shul free card is to pay that and put down your goal. I'll answer any questions, just not from the mic, after we're done. Are we done? Thank you, everyone, for attending this evening. Hatzlacha Rabbah, Ksiva Chasima Tova to everyone. Great to be here with you.